She wouldn't kiss me. Victor, please? She wouldn't kiss me, she wouldn't kiss me, she wouldn't kiss me. The words loop like a broken record. Over and over. A man's voice, thick, trembling, soaked in something between grief and rage. Behind him, a woman lies motionless on cold marble. Her arm twisted. Her eyes half open. And somewhere in the penthouse, a phone buzzes with notifications. She looks disgusted. Skull. He bought her but can't keep her face with tears of joy. That rejection went viral. Welcome back to True Crime Files HQ. And if you're here right now, thank you. Truly. To my subscribers, you are the backbone of this channel. You show up. You care. You demand truth. Before we dive in, let me say a quick word over you. May your mind stay sharp. May your heart stay protected. And may wisdom guide every choice you make today and always. Amen. Now, tonight's case will disturb you. Not because of the violence, though there is violence, but because of how small the trigger was. A single moment. A turned head. A kiss refused. And 2 days later, a woman was dead. This is the story of Ariana Brennan and Victor Halstead. A 27-year-old woman trying to survive. And a 65-year-old billionaire who couldn't survive rejection. Subscribe now if you're not already, because the moment this turns deadly, you won't want to miss a single detail. Let's begin. April 9th, 2023. Miami, Florida. 10:12 p.m. Paramedics stepped into the Halstead penthouse expecting a medical emergency. What they found instead was a crime scene wrapped in luxury. Marble floors. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Biscayne Bay. A kitchen island worth more than most people's cars. And lying beside that island, Ariana Brennan, 27 years old. Unresponsive. Her arm bent beneath her body at an unnatural angle. Her lips slightly parted. A thin line of blood trailing from her temple to the grout between the tiles. Standing over her was her husband, Victor Halstead, 65 years old, billionaire, real estate tycoon, a man whose name was plastered on half the buildings in downtown Miami. But right now, he looked like a ghost, drenched in sweat, trembling so violently his entire torso shook beneath his wrinkled linen shirt. His lips moving non-stop, whispering the same 6 words again and again. She wouldn't kiss me, she wouldn't kiss me. One paramedic knelt beside Ariana, checked her pulse, looked up at his partner and shook his head slowly. The other paramedic approached Victor carefully. Sir, can you hear me? Victor didn't respond, just kept whispering. She wouldn't kiss me. At first they thought he was in shock, traumatized. Maybe he'd found her like this. Maybe he tried to help and failed. But when the detectives arrived 20 minutes later and started processing the scene, the story began to shift. A shattered crystal decanter near the sink. Wipe marks on the counter, fresh, deliberate, bruising around Ariana's neck. And Victor's knuckles, scraped raw. Those 6 words stopped sounding like confusion. They started sounding like motive. But to understand why a billionaire would murder his wife over a kiss, we need to go back. Back to where this relationship began. Back to the moment survival and obsession collided. Ariana Brennan never wanted to marry a rich man. She just needed one. She grew up in Hialeah, the grittiest corner of Miami. The kind of neighborhood where rent came before food. Where dreams got stuffed into closets because there was no room for them in real life. Her mother, Diane, cleaned hotel rooms 6 days a week. Came home smelling like bleach and other people's vacations. Her father, Kyle, drifted in and out of their apartment like a visitor. Present but not really there. He'd disappear for weeks, then show up with apologies and empty hands. Ariana was the oldest of 3, which meant she became the second parent by default. She started working at 15. Bussing tables at a diner off 49th Street. Greeting customers with a smile even when her feet ached. Taking the shifts nobody else wanted, the early mornings, the late nights, the holidays. But Ariana had something people noticed immediately. Beauty. Soft features. Warm brown eyes. A smile that made strangers feel seen. She didn't use it to manipulate. She just had it. And in Miami, beauty is currency. She dreamt of fashion school. Dreamt of sketching designs late at night. dreamt of creating something beautiful for once instead of just surviving chaos. But dreams don't pay rent. And when her mother got diagnosed with kidney disease in 2021, those dreams got shoved even further back. Ariana picked up more shifts, started cocktail waitressing, started modeling part-time for local boutiques. She wasn't looking for a man. She was looking for a miracle. And in Miami, sometimes those two things arrive in the same expensive suit. Victor Halstead grew up knowing he'd never be desired. Not naturally, anyway. He was bullied as a kid. Overweight. Awkward. The kind of boy who got picked last in gym class and spent lunch alone in the library. But Victor was smart. Frighteningly smart. By 30, he owned 3 apartment buildings in Coral Gables. By 50, he owned entire city blocks. By 65, he was worth $180 million. He had everything. Except the one thing money couldn't buy. Affection. Not forced affection. Not transactional affection. Real affection. The kind where someone kisses you because they want to, because they crave you. Victor had been married twice before. Both marriages ended the same way. His wives left him for younger, fitter, more charismatic men. And each time Victor's insecurity grew heavier. Like his weight. Like his desperation. He started paying for companionship. Escorts. Sugar babies. Women who smiled at him as long as the checks cleared. But it wasn't enough. He didn't want a performance. He wanted proof. Proof that someone could look at him, really look at him, and want him. That hunger consumed him. And one night in March 2022, it led him straight to Ariana. They met at a charity gala. The kind of event where champagne costs more than groceries and everyone pretends to care about the cause. Ariana wasn't a guest. She was hired to model. Emerald dress. Hair pinned back. Smile flawless but tight from standing for 3 hours straight. Victor spotted her across the room. Not the decorations. Not the other guests. Just her. He watched her arrange orchids on a display table. Watched her laugh politely at something an event coordinator said. Watched her adjust the strap of her dress when she thought no one was looking, and something inside him clicked. He approached slowly, confidently. The way rich men do when they're used to getting what they want. "You have an eye for beauty," he said, loud enough for the event director to hear. But his eyes never left Ariana's face. She looked up, smiled. The same smile she gave everyone. "Thank you. I'm Victor Halstead." He said it like it explained everything. And in Miami it kind of did. Ariana recognized the name. Everyone did. Ariana Brennan. "Would you have dinner with me, Ariana?" "Any restaurant in Miami. Your choice." He handed her his card. Embossed gold lettering. Heavy stock. Ariana didn't say yes out of romance. She said yes because survival sometimes wears a suit and hands you a business card. 2 weeks later, her entire life changed. Victor paid off her mother's hospital bills. All of them. $47,000, gone in a single wire transfer. He bought Ariana a new iPhone, a car. Moved her into one of his luxury apartments in Brickell. "You don't need to work anymore," he told her over dinner one night. "Let me take care of you." It sounded generous. It sounded like relief. But generosity has a way of turning into ownership when you're not paying attention. Within 2 months, Victor introduced Ariana as his fiancée. She never actually said yes to a proposal. Just happened. Like everything else in her life now. Was Ariana a gold digger? Maybe. Maybe not. Does it matter? She was a 27-year-old woman trying to keep her family afloat. And Victor was a 65-year-old man trying to own something beautiful before time convinced him he couldn't. But what Ariana didn't realize, what she couldn't have realized, was that Victor's love came with chains. Invisible at first. Then tighter. Then suffocating. If you're still here, drop a comment. I'm still here. Let me know you're following this case. Because what happens next is where everything starts to unravel. And trust me, you're going to want to hear what the detectives found later. It changes everything. At first, the changes felt like upgrades. Ariana moved into Victor's penthouse 3 months into their relationship. Panoramic views. A closet bigger than her childhood bedroom. A bathroom with heated floors. She told herself she was lucky. Her mother's medical bills were gone. Her siblings had new school supplies. Her family could finally breathe. But breathing got harder the longer she stayed. Victor controlled everything. Not violently. Not obviously. Just thoroughly. He started with her clothes. That dress is too short, don't you think? The neckline on that top, it's a little revealing. I bought you something better. Wear this instead. At first, Ariana thought he was being protective. Then she realized he was being possessive. He monitored her schedule. Where are you going? Who are you meeting? Text me when you get there. And when you leave. He controlled her friendships. Ariana's best friend, Mia, called one Sunday afternoon. Girl, I haven't seen you in weeks. Come to brunch. Please. Ariana hesitated. I have to ask Victor first. There was silence on the other end. Then, Ari, do you hear yourself? Ariana hung up. She didn't go to brunch. Victor's insecurity seeped into every corner of their life together. He needed constant reassurance. Do you love me? Are you happy? Would you still be with me if I wasn't rich? Ariana learned to say yes quickly, enthusiastically, because hesitation made him spiral. He'd withdraw, go silent for hours, sometimes days, and the only way to fix it was to apologize. For what? For making him doubt. But the worst part, the thing that would eventually destroy them both, was Victor's obsession with public displays of affection. He didn't just want Ariana to love him privately. He needed the world to see it, to witness it, to believe it. Kiss me, he'd say at restaurants, in lobbies, at events, and not small kisses. Long, open-mouthed, performative kisses that forced everyone nearby to look. Because that was the point. Victor needed strangers to see a beautiful young woman desiring him, choosing him. It was the only proof his insecurity would accept. But Ariana hated it. Not because she hated Victor, but because of the smell. Garlic, cigar smoke, whiskey seeping through his pores. Sometimes she couldn't help it, she'd flinch, turn her head slightly, pull back just a fraction. And every time she did, Victor shattered inside. He wouldn't say anything in public. But later, alone, he'd explode. You embarrassed me. Everyone saw you pull away. Do you know how that makes me look? And Ariana would apologize. Again and again. Because what choice did she have? Her friends stopped calling. Not because they didn't care, but because every conversation ended the same way. I have to ask Victor. Victor doesn't want me to. Victor says. Mia tried one last time. She showed up at the penthouse unannounced. Victor answered the door. She's not available, he said flatly. I'm her best friend. I just want to talk to her. She'll call you when she's ready. He closed the door. Ariana watched from the hallway, frozen. Victor turned to her. You don't need friends like that. And Ariana said nothing. But everything changed on April 7, 2023. A rooftop birthday party in Wynwood. One of Victor's business associates, a guy named Trevor, was turning 40. The venue was packed. Influencers, models, people recording everything for their Instagram stories. A DJ screaming over the speakers. Strobe lights cutting through the Miami night. Victor was drunk. Not sloppy, but loose. Confident in a way he usually wasn't. He pulled Ariana onto the dance floor. Come here, baby. She smiled. Went along with it. The music thumped. People clapped. Someone yelled, "Get it, Victor?" And then he went in for a kiss. Long, dramatic. The kind meant to be seen. Ariana turned her head. Just slightly. Just enough. His lips landed on her cheek instead. For a split second no one noticed. But phones were everywhere. And someone caught it.by the next morning, the video was everywhere. TikTok, Twitter, Instagram Reels. Billionaire's wife rejects him in public skull. She can't even fake it anymore, face with tears of joy. He bought her but can't keep her. The comments were brutal. She looks disgusted. You can see the regret in her eyes. That man is delusional if he thinks she loves him. Victor read every single one. Every repost. Every laugh. Every meme. And something inside him snapped out. He didn't yell. He didn't throw things. He just went silent. For 2 days he barely spoke to Ariana. She tried everything. Victor, I'm sorry. It wasn't intentional. Please talk to me. Nothing. He'd sit in his office, scrolling, reading the comments over and over. Ariana texted her younger sister, Becca. He won't talk to me. I think I really embarrassed him. Becca replied, Ari, this isn't healthy. Ariana didn't respond. On April 9th, Ariana tried one last time. She cooked his favorite meal, garlic chicken with lime. Ironically, the very smell that repulsed her. She set the table, lit candles, wore the dress he bought her last month. Victor came home at 8:47 p.m. He looked at the table, at her, at the food. What's this? I made dinner. For us. He sat down slowly. They ate in silence. Ariana tried to make conversation. How was your day? Fine. Trevor called. He wanted to thank you for coming to the party. Victor's jaw tightened. Don't mention that party. Ariana's stomach dropped. Victor. Do you know what people are saying about me? His voice was calm. Too calm. Do you know how many people laughed at me? I didn't mean. You turned your head, Ariana. It was an accident. Was it? He stood up, walked to the kitchen island, poured himself a drink. Because it didn't look like an accident. Ariana's hands trembled. Victor, please? It looked like you were disgusted. I'm not. Like you couldn't stand to kiss me. That's not true. He slammed the glass down. The sound echoed through the penthouse. And for the first time, Ariana felt real fear. What happened next, between 9:40 p.m. and 10:10 p.m., will never be fully known. But here's what detectives pieced together. A struggle. A shattered decanter. Shouting. A neighbor 2 floors down reported hearing a woman's voice. Stop. Please. Then silence. At 10:12 p.m., Victor called 911. His voice shaking. My wife, she's not breathing. When paramedics arrived, they found Ariana on the marble floor. Unresponsive. Her arm twisted beneath her. Blood pooling near her temple. And Victor standing over her, whispering, She wouldn't kiss me, she wouldn't kiss me. If you're still watching, comment still here, so I know you're following. Because what the detectives found next is going to shock you. And trust me, this story is far from over. Subscribe now if you haven't already. You won't want to miss what comes next. The detectives found something in Victor's search history that changed everything. 3 words. Searched 17 times in 2 days. How to hide bruises. Stay with me. April 10, 2023. 7:43 a.m. Miami-Dade Homicide Division. Detective Lauren Porter sat across from Victor Halstead in interview room 3. She'd been doing this job for 12 years. Seen every type of killer. The ones who cried. The ones who confessed immediately. The ones who lawyered up before saying a single word. But Victor? Victor was different. He sat perfectly still. Hands folded on the metal table. Eyes red but dry. He looked broken. But broken men can still be dangerous. Lauren clicked her pen once. Twice. Mr. Halstead. I need you to walk me through last night. Starting from the beginning. Victor's voice came out hoarse. I already told the officers. Tell me again. He exhaled slowly. We had dinner. Ariana made my favorite meal. We talked. Then. He stopped. Then what? She fell. Lauren didn't blink. She fell. Yes. How? She was cleaning up. She slipped. Hit her head on the counter. And you didn't think to call 911 immediately? His voice cracked. I panicked. I tried to help her. I thought she was just unconscious. I didn't realize. He buried his face in his hands. Lauren let the silence stretch. Then she slid a photograph across the table. Crime scene photo. Close-up of Ariana's neck. Mr. Halstead, can you explain these bruises? Victor looked at the photo. His jaw tightened. I tried to give her CPR. Maybe I pressed too hard. CPR doesn't leave fingerprint-shaped bruises on the throat. Silence. Mr. Halstead, did you put your hands around your wife's neck? No. Did you grab her? No. Did you shake her? Victor's voice rose. I loved her. That's not what I asked. I loved her. Lauren leaned forward. Then help me understand something. Your neighbor, 2 floors down, reported hearing a woman screaming, begging someone to stop. Was that Ariana? Victor said nothing. Mr. Halstead. Was your wife afraid of you? No. Did she try to leave you? No. Did she embarrass you in public recently? Victor's entire body stiffened. And Lauren knew. She'd found the wound. Meanwhile, forensic investigators were tearing the penthouse apart. And they were finding everything. Evidence item number 1, the decanter. Shattered crystal. Blood on 3 separate shards. The blood matched Ariana's DNA. But here's what was strange. The decanter wasn't just broken. It had been cleaned. Wipe marks along the counter. Bleach residue in the grout. Victor had tried to erase what happened, which meant he knew it was bad. Evidence item number 2, Victor's phone. Detectives obtained a warrant for Victor's phone within 6 hours. And what they found made the case inevitable. Search history, April 7th through April 9th. How to remove bruises quickly. Can CPR cause neck bruising? Do people forget trauma arguments? How long does it take to die from head injury? Accidental death versus manslaughter, Florida. 17 searches total. All made before Ariana died. Which meant Victor had been thinking about this. Planning for it. Preparing for it. Evidence item number 3, the viral video. Investigators pulled the TikTok video from April 7th. The one where Ariana turned her head. They watched it, rewatched it, slowed it down frame by frame. And they noticed something no one else had. Victor's expression. For just a split second, right after Ariana turns away, his face changes. The smile vanishes. His jaw clenches. His eyes go cold. One forensic psychologist who reviewed the footage later said, "That's not embarrassment. That's rage being suppressed in real time." Evidence item number 4, text messages. Ariana's phone was recovered from the kitchen counter. Investigators combed through her messages. And what they found painted a devastating picture. Text to her sister Becca, April 8th, 11:32 p.m. "He's not talking to me. It's been 2 days. I don't know what to do." Becca replied, "Ari, this is not normal. You need to leave." Ariana, "I can't. Where would I even go? He pays for everything." Becca, "You can stay with me. Please." Ariana never responded. Text to her friend Mia, April 9th, 2:14 p.m. "I think I really messed up this time. He won't even look at me." Mia, "What happened?" Ariana, "I embarrassed him at Trevor's party. There's a video. People are making fun of him." Mia, "Ari, that's not your fault." Ariana, "He thinks it is." Mia, "Do you feel safe?" Ariana didn't reply to that either. Text to her mother Diane, April 9th, 7:51 p.m. "I'm making dinner for Victor tonight. Wish me luck." Diane, "Good luck, baby. Call me later." Ariana never called. Because 3 hours later she was dead. Quick question for you, do you think Ariana knew she was in danger that night? Or do you think she believed she could still fix things? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I really want to know what you think. April 10th, 2023. 4:17 p.m. Victor Halstead was formally arrested. Charged with second-degree murder. Not manslaughter. Not accidental death. Murder. Because the evidence didn't just suggest he killed her. It suggested he'd been thinking about it for days. The arraignment happened 72 hours later. Victor appeared in court wearing an expensive suit. Clean-shaven. Stoic. His defense attorney, a man named Gerald Moss, argued for bail. "Your Honor, my client is a pillar of this community. He has no prior criminal record. He's not a flight risk. He's grieving the loss of his wife." The prosecutor, a sharp woman named Simone Grant, interrupted. "Your Honor, this man didn't grieve his wife. He killed her. And then he tried to cover it up. He cleaned the crime scene. He rehearsed his story. He searched the internet for ways to explain away her injuries. This was not an accident. This was premeditated violence." The judge denied bail. Victor was remanded to Miami-Dade County Jail. No visitors except his attorney. No phone calls except legal ones. And for the first time in his life, Victor Halstead couldn't buy his way out. While Victor sat in a cell, the media frenzy exploded. Headlines everywhere. Billionaire accused of killing wife after viral rejection video. Miami tycoon arrested in penthouse murder. Did social media humiliation lead to deadly rage? The TikTok video resurfaced. Got millions more views. People dissected every frame, every expression, every comment. Some people defended Victor. She humiliated him in front of everyone. What did she expect? Others condemned him. She turned her head. That's it. And he killed her for it. The internet, as always, turned tragedy into entertainment. And Ariana became a hashtag. Hashtag justice for Ariana. But here's what most people didn't know. Ariana's family, her mother Diane, her sister Becca, her younger brother Marcus, were drowning. Victor had paid for everything. The apartment they lived in? Victor's property. The car Diane drove? Registered in Victor's name. Ariana's funeral expenses? They couldn't afford them. Because the moment Victor was arrested, all financial support stopped. His lawyers froze everything. And Ariana's family was left with nothing. No closure. No money. No justice yet. Just grief. Diane gave one interview. To a local Miami news station. She sat in a folding chair in a borrowed dress. Eyes swollen from crying. The reporter asked, "What do you want people to know about your daughter?" Diane's voice shook. Ariana was kind. She was smart. She was trying to help us. And she didn't deserve this. She didn't deserve to die because some man couldn't handle his ego. The reporter hesitated, then asked, "Do you think Victor killed her?" Diane looked directly into the camera. "I know he did. If you're still here, comment justice for Ariana, so I know you're with me. Because what happens next, at trial, is going to make you question everything you think you know about power, control, and how far humiliation can push someone." Subscribe if you haven't yet. This case is just getting started. The defense's strategy wasn't to deny Victor killed Ariana. It was to make the jury believe she deserved it. Stay with me. This gets worse. September 18, 2023. Miami-Dade County Courthouse. The state of Florida versus Victor Halstead. The courtroom was packed. Journalists, true crime bloggers, Ariana's family in the front row. Victor's legal team surrounding him like a fortress. And Victor himself, thinner now, grayer, but still defiant. Still believing he was the victim. The prosecution's opening statement was devastating. Simone Grant stood in front of the jury. 12 strangers who would decide Victor's fate. She didn't shout. Didn't need to. Her voice was calm. Surgical. "Ladies and gentlemen, this case is about control. About a man who needed to be desired so desperately that when his wife, a woman 40 years younger, turned her head during a kiss, he decided she needed to be punished. And 2 days later, she was dead. She clicked a remote. The viral video played on the courtroom screen. The jury watched Ariana turn her head. Watched Victor's face change. Simone paused the video right there. On Victor's expression. Look at his eyes. That is not embarrassment. That is rage. She let the silence sit. Victor Halstead didn't accidentally kill his wife. He chose to. Because in his mind she had committed the ultimate crime. She made him look weak. And for that she paid with her life. The defense's opening statement was bold. Gerald Moss stood slowly, adjusted his glasses, looked at the jury with something close to sympathy. "Ladies and gentlemen, you just heard the prosecution paint my client as a monster, a calculating killer. But what they didn't tell you is this. Victor Halstead loved his wife. Deeply. Completely. Maybe even too much." He walked toward the jury box. Yes, there was an argument that night. Yes, Victor made terrible decisions afterward. But this was not murder. This was a tragic accident born from a toxic relationship. A relationship where a young woman used an older man for his money, humiliated him publicly, and pushed him to his breaking point. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Ariana's mother Diane stood up. "How dare you?" The judge banged his gavel. "Order." Diane was escorted out, sobbing. Gerald Moss didn't flinch. He continued. "The evidence will show that Ariana Brennan was not an innocent victim. She was a willing participant in a transactional relationship. And when that transaction no longer served her, she humiliated the man who gave her everything." He paused. "Victor Halstead is guilty of many things. But premeditated murder is not one of them." The prosecution called their first witness. Dr. Miles Cho, medical examiner. He walked the jury through Ariana's injuries with clinical precision. The victim sustained blunt force trauma to the left temple. Bruising around the neck consistent with manual strangulation. Defensive wounds on both forearms. Simone Grant asked, "Dr. Cho, in your professional opinion, were these injuries consistent with a fall?" "No." "Could they have been caused by CPR?" "Absolutely not." "What caused them?" Dr. Cho looked directly at Victor. "These injuries were caused by another person. Someone who grabbed her, shook her, and struck her with enough force to fracture her skull." The jury looked at Victor. Victor stared at the table. The prosecution called their second witness, Becca Brennan, Ariana's younger sister. She was 23, wore a simple black dress. Her hands trembled as she took the stand. Simone Grant's voice softened. Becca, tell the jury about your sister. Becca's voice cracked immediately. She was everything. She raised me, took care of our mom. She worked so hard, and she just wanted us to be okay. Did she ever talk to you about Victor? Yes. What did she say? Becca hesitated. At first she said he was nice, generous, but then, things changed. How? She started saying things like, I have to ask Victor first, or, Victor doesn't want me to. She stopped seeing her friends, stopped calling as much. And when I asked her if she was okay, she'd just say, I'm fine. Did you believe her? Becca shook her head, tears streaming down her face. No, I knew she wasn't fine. I just didn't know how bad it was until it was too late. The defense cross-examined Becca mercilessly. Gerald Moss stood. Becca, you said your sister worked hard to take care of your family. Is that correct? Yes. And when she met Victor, he paid off your mother's medical bills. Correct. Yes. He bought your sister a car, moved her into a luxury apartment, gave her financial security. Correct. Yes, but... So it's fair to say your sister benefited greatly from this relationship? She loved him. Did she? Or did she love what he could provide? Simone Grant shot up. Objection. Speculation. Sustained. But the damage was done. The defense had planted the seed. Maybe Ariana was using him. Day 3 of the trial. The prosecution played the 911 call. Victor's voice filled the courtroom. Shaking. Breathless. My wife, she's not breathing. Please send someone. Sir, what happened? She fell. She hit her head. There's blood. So much blood. Is she conscious? No. No, she's not moving. Please hurry. The operator's voice stayed calm. Sir, I need you to check for a pulse. Pause. I can't find one. Okay. Stay on the line with me. Another pause. Then barely audible. She wouldn't kiss me. Sir? She wouldn't kiss me. She wouldn't kiss me. The recording ended. The courtroom sat in stunned silence. The defense called their first witness, Dr. Angela Hart, forensic psychologist. She was there to explain Victor's mental state. Gerald Moss asked, Dr. Hart, you've reviewed Victor Halstead's psychological profile. Can you tell the jury what you found? Mr. Halstead suffers from severe attachment disorder, likely stemming from childhood trauma. He experiences intense fear of abandonment and requires constant validation to feel secure. And how does this relate to the night of April 9th? Mr. Halstead was triggered by what he perceived as public rejection. The viral video reinforced his deepest fear, that he was unlovable. This created a psychological break. He acted impulsively, not with premeditation. Simone Grant stood for cross-examination. Dr. Hart, you said Mr. Halstead acted impulsively. But he also searched the internet for ways to explain away bruises. Days before his wife died. Does that sound impulsive to you? Dr. Hart hesitated. Those searches could indicate anxiety, not premeditation. Or they could indicate a man planning how to get away with violence. Objection. Withdrawn. Day 7 of the trial. Victor took the stand. It was a risk. But his lawyers believed the jury needed to hear his side. Victor sat in the witness box. Hands folded. Voice quiet. Gerald Moss asked, Victor, tell the jury what happened the night Ariana died. Victor took a shaky breath. We had dinner. She made my favorite meal. I thought things were getting better. But then she said something. What did she say? She said, I can't do this anymore. Gasps in the courtroom. And what did you think she meant? I thought she was leaving me. Victor's voice broke. I panicked. I grabbed her. I just wanted her to stay, to listen. But she pulled away and she slipped. She hit her head on the counter. And I tried to help her. I swear I tried. But she wouldn't wake up. He buried his face in his hands. I loved her. I would never hurt her on purpose. Simone Grant's cross-examination was brutal. Mr. Halstead, you say you loved your wife, but you also controlled every aspect of her life. Didn't you? I took care of her. You isolated her from her friends. Didn't you? I wanted her to be safe. You monitored her phone, her schedule, her clothing. Didn't you? Yes or no, Mr. Halstead? Yes. And when she turned her head during a kiss, A completely natural reflex. You became enraged. Didn't you? I was hurt. You were humiliated. And you punished her for it. No. You grabbed her by the throat. I didn't. You slammed her head into the counter. That's not what happened. And then you tried to cover it up. Victor stood shouting. I loved her. The courtroom erupted. The judge banged his gavel. Victor's lawyers pulled him back into his seat. And Simone Grant stood there. Calm. Unmoved. No further questions. Closing arguments came 2 days later. Simone Grant spoke first. Ladies and gentlemen, Victor Halstead wants you to believe he's a victim. That he loved too much. That he lost control. But love doesn't strangle. Love doesn't fracture skulls. Love doesn't search the internet for ways to hide what it's done. Victor Halstead didn't love Ariana Brennan. He owned her. And when she tried to reclaim even a sliver of autonomy, by turning her head, he decided she needed to be destroyed. Find him guilty. Give Ariana justice. Gerald Moss stood. The prosecution wants you to see Victor as a monster. But what they've shown you is a broken man. A man who made terrible mistakes. But mistakes are not murder. This was a tragic accident. And Victor Halstead has already lost everything. Don't take his freedom too. The jury deliberated for 11 hours. And when they returned, the verdict was unanimous. Who do you think is more to blame, Victor for his obsession, or the world for making him believe that public affection equals love? Let me know in the comments. Because what the jury decided next is going to shock you. Subscribe now if you haven't. You won't want to miss the conclusion. The jury foreman stood, unfolded the paper, and read 2 words that made Victor's entire body collapse. Guilty. Murder. Stay with me. Because what happens next proves that even justice has a price. September 29, 2023. 3:47 p.m. Miami-Dade County Courthouse. The jury filed back into the courtroom after 11 hours of deliberation. 11 hours of dissecting evidence. Replaying testimony. Arguing over reasonable doubt. And now they had reached a decision. Victor sat perfectly still at the defense table. His hands clasped so tightly his knuckles had turned white. His breathing shallow. His eyes fixed on nothing. Behind him, Ariana's family sat in the front row. Diane held her daughter Becca's hand. Both women barely breathing. Marcus sat beside them, jaw clenched, fists balled. The entire courtroom held its breath. Judge Harrison Reed looked at the jury. Has the jury reached a verdict? The foreman, a middle-aged man named Paul, a high school teacher, stood slowly. We have, Your Honor. Please read the verdict. Paul unfolded the paper. His voice steady but heavy. In the case of the state of Florida versus Victor Halstead, on the charge of second-degree murder, we, the jury, find the defendant. He paused. Not for drama, but because what came next would change lives forever. Guilty. The courtroom exploded. Diane Brennan collapsed into Becca's arms, sobbing. Marcus punched the air once, tears streaming down his face. Journalists frantically typed on their phones. Victor's head dropped to the table. His shoulders shook. Gerald Moss placed a hand on his back, whispered something. But Victor didn't respond. He just sat there, broken. Judge Reed banged his gavel. Order. Order in the court. The noise gradually subsided. The judge looked at Victor. Mr. Halstead, please stand. Victor stood slowly, his legs barely holding him. You have been found guilty of second-degree murder. Sentencing will take place in 2 weeks. You are remanded to custody until that time. 2 bailiffs approached. Victor turned to look at Ariana's family one last time. Diane stared back at him. No anger in her eyes. Just exhaustion. Just grief. Victor opened his mouth as if to say something. But no words came. The bailiffs cuffed him. Led him out through the side door. And just like that, Victor Halstead, the man who once owned half of Miami, became inmate #2023-04891. Outside the courthouse, the media swarmed. Simone Grant stood at a podium. Microphones everywhere. Today, justice was served for Ariana Brennan. This verdict sends a clear message. Wealth and power do not place you above the law. Domestic violence, in any form, will not be tolerated in Miami-Dade County. A reporter shouted, "Do you think the viral video influenced the jury?" Simone paused. "I think the evidence influenced the jury. The video simply showed the world what Ariana's family already knew. This was a man who could not handle rejection. And when faced with humiliation, he chose violence." Another reporter, "What do you say to people who claim Ariana was a gold digger who got what she deserved?" Simone's expression hardened. I say this, turning your head during a kiss does not justify murder. Using someone's financial dependence as an excuse for control does not justify murder. Ariana Brennan was a 27-year-old woman trying to survive, and she was killed for it. Anyone who believes she deserved this needs to examine their own values. Diane Brennan gave a statement too. She stood with Becca and Marcus beside her. Her voice hoarse from crying but firm. My daughter was not perfect. None of us are. But she was kind. She was loving. And she did not deserve to die because a man couldn't control his ego. She paused, composing herself. Victor Halstead took my baby from me. And no amount of money, no guilty verdict, no prison sentence will ever bring her back. But at least now the world knows the truth. Ariana fought to survive. And in the end, she lost that fight because the man who promised to love her chose to destroy her instead. Becca stepped forward. If you're in a relationship where someone controls you, isolates you, or makes you feel like you owe them your body or your affection because they provide for you, please leave. Please ask for help. Because my sister thought she could fix it. And now she's gone. But not everyone was satisfied with the verdict. Online, the case sparked endless debate. Some celebrated. Finally, justice for Ariana. Rot in prison, Victor. This case proves that money can't buy your way out of murder. She turned her head and he killed her. That's how fragile male egos are. But others defended Victor. She humiliated him in front of millions. What did she expect? He snapped. It was a crime of passion, not premeditated murder. She was using him for money. She's not innocent either. The internet, as always, turned tragedy into a battleground. And Ariana became a symbol. For some, a victim of domestic violence and male entitlement. For others, a cautionary tale about transactional relationships. But for her family, she was just Ariana. And she was gone. October 13, 2023. Sentencing day. Victor was brought back into the courtroom in an orange jumpsuit. He lost more weight. His face gaunt. His eyes hollow. Prison had broken him in ways the trial never did. Judge Reed reviewed the sentencing guidelines. Mr. Halstead, you have been convicted of second-degree murder. Under Florida law, you face a maximum sentence of life in prison. Victor didn't react. The judge continued. However, the court must also consider mitigating factors. Your age. Your lack of prior criminal history. Your documented mental health struggles. Ariana's family tensed. Was he about to go easy on him? Judge Reed leaned forward. But I must also consider this. You killed a young woman who trusted you. Who depended on you. Who could not escape you. And you did so because your pride was wounded. That, Mr. Halstead, is unforgivable. He banged his gavel once. I hereby sentence you to 30 years in state prison. No possibility of parole for 25 years. Diane gasped. Covered her mouth. It wasn't life. But it was close. Victor would be 95 years old before he could even apply for parole. If he lived that long. Judge Reed wasn't finished. Additionally, you are ordered to pay restitution to the Brennan family in the amount of $500,000 for funeral expenses, emotional damages, and loss of financial support. Victor's lawyer stood. Your Honor, my client's assets have been frozen. Then unfreeze them. This family deserves compensation for what your client took from them. The gavel banged again. Court is adjourned. Victor was led out of the courtroom for the last time. As he passed Ariana's family, Marcus stood. Rot in there. Victor stopped. Looked at him. For a moment it seemed like he might say something. But instead he just nodded slowly. As if he agreed. As if he knew he deserved it. And then he was gone. 3 months later. January 2024. Ariana's family used the restitution money to create the Ariana Brennan Foundation, a non-profit organization dedicated to helping women escape financially abusive relationships. They provided emergency housing, legal assistance, job placement services, financial literacy programs. Becca became the executive director. My sister couldn't escape, she said in an interview. But maybe we can help other women before it's too late. The foundation helped 43 women in its first year. 43 women who might have ended up like Ariana, but didn't. Meanwhile, Victor sat in a cell at Everglades Correctional Institution. He was placed in protective custody, not because he was a model prisoner, but because other inmates learned what he did. And men in prison don't take kindly to guys who kill women. He received no visitors. His former business associates distanced themselves. His family, what little he had left, wanted nothing to do with him. He spent 23 hours a day alone in a cell. 1 hour for recreation. But even then he stayed alone, because no one wanted to be near him. A prison psychologist interviewed Victor 6 months into his sentence. The psychologist later wrote in his report, "Subject shows signs of severe depression and suicidal ideation." When asked if he regrets his actions, he stated, "I regret everything. But not because I think I was wrong. I regret it because I lost everything. And she's still gone." Even in prison, Victor couldn't fully accept responsibility. He mourned his loss, not hers. But here's the question nobody wants to ask. Could this have been prevented? If Ariana had left earlier, would she still be alive? If someone had intervened, could they have stopped Victor before he snapped? If society didn't glorify wealth and power, would Ariana have felt trapped in the first place? Dr. Hannah Patel, a domestic violence expert, was interviewed about the case. She said, "Ariana's story is not unique. Thousands of women are trapped in relationships where financial dependence becomes a cage. And when you add a partner with deep insecurity and a need for control, it becomes a powder keg." The viral video didn't cause Victor to kill Ariana. It simply lit the fuse on something that was already there. She continued, "The warning signs were everywhere. Isolation, control, obsessive need for validation, public displays of dominance disguised as affection. But people didn't see it because Victor was wealthy, because Ariana seemed to benefit, because we, as a society, romanticize the idea of a powerful man taking care of a younger woman until she's dead. And then we act surprised. Pause for a moment. If you know someone in a relationship like this, where one person controls the money, the schedule, the friendships, the affection, please share this story with them. Not to scare them, but to show them they're not alone, and that leaving is possible. Comment, share this story, if you think this message needs to reach more people. Because Ariana's death doesn't have to be in vain. March 2025. 2 years after Ariana's death, the viral video was still online, still being shared, still being commented on. But now it carried a different weight. It wasn't just a meme anymore. It was evidence. Evidence of the moment a man's ego became more important than a woman's life. And every time someone watched it, they saw what Ariana's family saw. A woman trapped, a man unraveling, and a tragedy waiting to happen. Victor Halstead will likely die in prison. At 65, sentenced to 30 years, the odds are against him. He has no legacy, no empire, no one who remembers him fondly. Just a name associated with violence, control, and a love that was never really love at all. But Ariana? Ariana is remembered, not as a gold digger, not as a victim who should have known better, but as a woman who did what she had to do to survive, who loved her family, who tried to fix something that was never hers to fix, and who died because a man decided his humiliation mattered more than her life. If you're still here, comment, "Rest in peace, Ariana." Let her family know the world hasn't forgotten. Subscribe if you haven't yet, because the final chapter explains what really happened that night, and the one piece of evidence that sealed Victor's fate forever. Chapter 6, The Truth. Retention hook, midnight to 0:10. There was one piece of evidence the jury never saw, because it was discovered 3 months after the trial ended, and it changes everything we thought we knew about that night. Stay with me. You need to hear this. December 2023. 3 months after Victor's sentencing. A forensic tech named Jordan Willis was reviewing old case files as part of a routine audit. He pulled up the Halstead case, scrolled through the evidence logs, and noticed something strange. Evidence item number 47. Security footage from the building's parking garage. It had been submitted during discovery, but never reviewed, never played in court, never mentioned by either side. Jordan frowned. Why would parking garage footage matter? He pulled up the file, and what he saw made him call Detective Lauren Porter immediately. The footage was time-stamped April 9, 2023, 8:52 p.m., 12 minutes before Ariana died. The camera was angled toward the private elevator that led directly to Victor's penthouse. And on the screen, clear as day, Ariana Brennan stepping out of the elevator, wearing jeans and a hoodie, carrying a small duffel bag. Jordan rewound the footage, played it again. Ariana walked quickly, head down, looking over her shoulder once. She wasn't coming into the building. She was leaving. Detective Porter watched the footage 3 times. Then she called Simone Grant. "We need to talk." They met at Porter's office the next morning. Simone watched the video in silence. When it ended, she leaned back in her chair. She was leaving him. Porter nodded. "Looks like it. Why wasn't this presented at trial?" "It was buried in the evidence. logged but never flagged. The DA's office had hundreds of pieces of evidence. This one slipped through. Simone exhaled slowly. If the jury had seen this, it wouldn't have changed the verdict, Porter said. Victor still killed her. But it would have changed the narrative. Simone looked at her. What do you mean? Porter pulled up another angle of the footage. Watch. The second camera showed the elevator arriving back on the penthouse floor. 9:03 p.m. Ariana stepped out. But this time she wasn't alone. Victor was with her, his hand gripping her arm, pulling her back inside. Simone's stomach dropped. He dragged her back. Porter nodded grimly. She tried to leave, and he stopped her. They watched the rest of the footage. Victor and Ariana disappeared into the penthouse. The elevator doors closed. And 37 minutes later, paramedics arrived. Porter and Grant brought the footage to Judge Reed. He reviewed it in his chambers. When it finished, he removed his glasses and rubbed his eyes. Why wasn't this shown at trial? It was missed, Simone said. But Your Honor, this changes the context of the case entirely. Ariana wasn't just a victim of a crime of passion. She was trying to escape. And Victor prevented her from leaving. That's kidnapping. That's false imprisonment. That's not what he was charged with, the judge interrupted. Simone leaned forward. Then we need to file additional charges. He's already been convicted and sentenced. Double jeopardy doesn't apply to separate crimes. Judge Reed considered this. What do you want me to do? Let me amend the charges. Let me bring this to a grand jury. Victor Halstead didn't just kill his wife. He held her captive. And she died trying to escape. January 2024. A grand jury reviewed the new evidence. And within 48 hours they returned an indictment. Additional charges. False imprisonment. Kidnapping. Aggravated assault. Each carrying additional prison time. Victor's defense attorney filed an immediate appeal. Your Honor, my client has already been tried and sentenced. This is prosecutorial overreach. But Judge Reed denied the motion. These are separate crimes. The defendant has the right to a fair trial on these charges. Proceed. The second trial was shorter. Only 5 days. The prosecution presented the security footage. The jury watched Ariana leave. Watched Victor drag her back. Watched her disappear into the penthouse. 37 minutes later, she was dead. Victor didn't testify this time. His lawyer advised against it. But it didn't matter. The footage spoke for itself. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Verdict: guilty on all counts. Judge Reed added 15 more years to Victor's sentence. Total, 45 years. Victor would be 110 years old before he could apply for parole. He would die in prison. There was no other outcome. After the sentencing, Diane Brennan spoke to reporters one final time. We always knew Ariana wanted to leave. We just didn't know she tried. And now we know that Victor wouldn't let her. He held her there. And when she fought back, he killed her. She paused, voice shaking. My daughter didn't die because she embarrassed him. She died because she tried to be free. And that's what we'll remember. Not the viral video. Not the headlines. Just that she fought. And she deserved better. The security footage was released to the public a week later. And it went viral. Again. But this time the comments were different. She was leaving. He dragged her back. This is so much worse than we thought. This wasn't about a kiss. This was about control. About ownership. Every woman who's ever been told, you owe me, needs to see this. The narrative shifted. Ariana was no longer the gold digger who humiliated her husband. She was the woman who tried to escape. And didn't make it. Dr. Hannah Patel was interviewed again. This footage confirms what domestic violence experts have been saying for years. The most dangerous time for a victim is when they try to leave. That's when abusers feel they've lost control. And that's when they escalate. She continued. Ariana didn't die because she turned her head. She died because she tried to walk away. And Victor couldn't allow that. Because to him she wasn't a person. She was a possession. And possessions don't get to leave. March 2024. 1 year after Ariana's death. The Brennan family held a memorial at Bayfront Park. Hundreds of people attended. Domestic violence survivors. Advocates. Strangers who'd followed the case. Becca spoke. My sister's story didn't end with her death. It's still happening. Every day. To women who are trapped. Who are controlled. Who are told they owe someone their body, their time, their life because that person pays the bills. She held up a photo of Ariana. Smiling. Young. Alive. This is how I want you to remember her. Not as a victim, but as a fighter. Someone who tried. Someone who deserved better. Someone who should still be here. Victor Halstead sits in a maximum security prison. He's now 67 years old. He has no contact with the outside world except his lawyer. He eats alone, sleeps alone, exists alone. In a recent psychological evaluation, he was asked if he understood why he was in prison. His response: "I loved her too much, and she couldn't love me back." Even now, Victor doesn't fully understand. He still believes he was the victim, that he was the one who suffered, that Ariana's rejection, her attempt to leave, was the real crime. And that's the scariest part, because men like Victor don't see themselves as abusers. They see themselves as lovers, as providers, as men who deserve gratitude, affection, and obedience in return for their generosity. And when they don't get it, they take it by force. But here's what I want you to take away from this case. Ariana Brennan was not responsible for Victor Halstead's insecurity. She was not responsible for his violence. She was not responsible for his inability to accept rejection. She was a 27-year-old woman trying to survive. And she died because a man decided his pride was worth more than her life. If you or someone you know is in a relationship where your partner controls your money, your partner monitors your phone or schedule, your partner isolates you from friends and family, your partner demands public displays of affection as proof of your love, your partner punishes you for small mistakes or perceived slights, you are not safe. And it's not your job to fix them. It's your job to survive. The National Domestic Violence Hotline, 1-800-799-7233. Text START to 88788. They can help. So here's my final question for you. Do you think Ariana knew deep down that she wouldn't make it out alive? Or do you think she believed, until the very end, that she could still fix things? Let me know in the comments. And if this story affected you, share it. Not for views, not for engagement, but because somewhere right now there's another Ariana, trying to leave, trying to survive. And maybe, just maybe, this story will give her the courage to run. And this time she'll make it. Rest in peace, Ariana Brennan. January 14, 1996 to April 9, 2023. You deserved better. Thank you for watching True Crime Files HQ. If you made it this far, you're part of something bigger than just true crime content. You're part of a community that believes in justice, truth, and protecting the vulnerable. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. And I'll see you in the next deep dive. Stay safe out there. And this was the story of Ariana Brennan. Thank you for watching True Crime Files HQ.